there's only one, to me, one very important component, that's memory. As long as we remember, we can train and we can sensitize. I was teaching once at Yale for a year. I remember I asked my first class, what is the opposite of literature?
The opposite of literature?
And they all tried to give me answers, ignorance and so forth, and vulgarity. The real answer is the opposite of literature also is indifference, because it is the opposite of everything else. The opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. The opposite of culture is indifference. Now, therefore, the aim of literature is to sensitize. The aim of culture is to sensitize. The aim of television is to sensitize. So if we remember, we can sensitize. If we don't, then we are no longer sensitive either. And then...
But you see, you describe, and I feel compelled to ask you to prophesy. You're in a tradition of prophets. What would be your assumptions as to where we are going in terms of our sensitivity to suffering, in terms not of our indifference, but of our devotion, our concern?
Prophets ceased to prophesy some 2,500 years ago. They are no longer prophets. Still, if I had to foresee the future, I would be terribly pessimistic. I'm pessimistic because of the nuclear threat, and to me, although I never compare anything to Auschwitz, nor do I compare Hiroshima to Auschwitz, we should never do that, but I think one is a consequence of the other. Auschwitz paved the way for Hiroshima.
As a response?
Not a response, as a possibility. It's possible to kill a community of people. It's possible. Now, today, there are so many nuclear weapons. And fortunately, for the moment, the big powers, I think, are responsible. They won't use them. But one day, smaller nations will get hold of them. And we know they will. What then? Just imagine a Khomeini with nuclear powers. But he would use them right away, not against Israel, by the way, but against Iraq. Imagine Idi Amin 10 years ago with nuclear weapons. And that is really my fear. But at the same time, I have the feeling that something is happening in our country. It's happening among the young people. A certain awareness, a moral awareness. So I'm oscillating between ultimate despair and necessary hope.
Perhaps an unfair question. If you felt just precisely the opposite, would you tell me so?
Absolutely. I belong now to a generation, I don't play with words anymore.
So that this touch of optimism or hopefulness is genuine?
It is, of course, but it's also an existential leap, as you know.
Seemingly.
I have no choice. I must. That means because the despair is so strong, I must fight it. In order to fight it, I must cling to some hope.
That attitude, is that what you think produces progress, let's say? That existential jump?
What do we call progress? If it's technological progress, I think our generation suffers from it. We go so far in technology that we remain behind in morality or in philosophy. Just see the discrepancy between what we did in science and what we did in thought, in metaphysics, or even in poetry or in art. So what is progress? My feeling, of course, progress must be translated in human terms. In words of wisdom, compassion. And there we did not make much progress.
Do you think that your words, at the time, turning the clock back now, of Bitburg, of the President's visit, your very, very active, perhaps not political is not the word, but your intense ethical involvement in these questions, were they Wieselish? Or were they, do you in any way regret having moved from your study your teacher, but having moved from your everyday work at writing.
In a way, yes, because I told you before that I lost 6 weeks. For the first time in my life, I didn't study, nor did I write for 6 weeks. And now I have to catch up these 6 weeks.
Which was the indulgence?
It's too much. Because I realized the importance, the historic importance of the event. That we must do something, we must speak up. Because it was a watershed. And even today, I think it was a watershed. And therefore we had to do something, but it didn't help much. But still, a few people listened, a few people learned, a few people felt that now they must learn more. I don't regret it.
But you see, that's why I ask when I jokingly, and I have no right to joke about it, ask which is the indulgence. I really meant, is the avoidance, had the avoidance of that kind of involvement been the indulgence, or was the activism?
I understand this.
Which way will you go now?
Oh, I go back to my study, to my writing. I am not good as an activist, Monica. It's not my role.
You were very good.
No, I'm not really. I'm not good for me.
When you came into this study, into the studio, I shouldn't say study, maybe that's a slip that I should not make. It is clear to me that so many people remembered you not just as the author and as the historian of the Holocaust, as the moralist, as a person who took a very strong role at Bitburg.
Well, I don't regret it, but it's really not something I like to do. I really like better to be with my students in my classroom, in my study, and read and read and read and write.
Where is it written that you should be able to do what you want to do?
It's not. I don't. The fact is, I'm sitting here with you speaking on television.
That's what makes me wonder whether you have not felt some compulsion to do something more, to be involved more.
No, really. I would lie if I were to say I felt a compulsion. I don't take myself that seriously. Not in this respect. However, again, once I did it, I felt I had to do it right. Not to say things I will regret later. And I feel that I did not say anything that I regret now. I try to endow every word that I said with a certain meaning, which is mine, and with respect to other people's words.
I think not only do you show that respect, but I think the world shows you that respect, feels it very deeply as I do, and I want to thank you for joining me today, Elie Wiesel. And thanks to you in the audience. I hope that you'll join us again next time here on The Open Mind. Meanwhile, as an old friend used to say, good night and good luck.